Welcome to Commander Pop Culture, a place to gather magical information with some laughs, might I add. Tonight I'll be playing Omo as one of my 3 decks. Omo is one of my subscriber requests. This list comes out to be $99, so it's affordable to all of you to play. I like to play budget decks online and see if I can compete with people trying to pub stomp me. In our 1-drop slots, we have Magus of Candelabra. It's in here for a particular reason, and it all has to do with Omo. On ETB on attack, you get to put an everything counter up to 1 target land and up to 1 target creature. An everything counter is every creature type and every land type. The reason why people like this as a commander, because you get to abuse very particular lands like the Tron land. These have stipulations where if you have the other 2 Urza lands, they produce extra mana when you tap them. Thus,
make the Ultra Mega Me.
When you put an everything counter on, say, Basic Forest, it becomes a power plant, a mine, and a tower. Now, not to confuse you, it doesn't give you land typing abilities, but it makes tapping these for mana easier, so you get to play like Pseudo, Tron, and Commander, which is very unique and cool. As long as I get one of these, they're producing 2 to 3 mana. The other land I'm abusing is Cloudpost. They become locusts as well, so this will tap for each locust on the battlefield. There's another land I'm abusing, which is Maze's End. If I have 10 gates, I win the game. Baldur's Gate, which can tap for a bunch of mana. I use Magus of Candelabra to sink mana into it to untap my lands that produce multiple pips of something. So I'll use this to untap my Urza lands or my Cloudpost or my gate that cares about gates. Some 1 mana drop ramp. They're so good. Every time I'm green, I play them. Especially if I'm in a 2-color deck or 1-color deck. There's no reason not to play mana dorks or 1-drops. It's just too fast and efficient not to play them. Expedition map. This is so you could find those key 5 lands that I was mentioning earlier. I have a lot of these kinds of tutors. I'm running this and Sylvan Tutor, and I'm running Tempted Discovery, Sowing, Mycospawn, Ulvenwald Hydra. They all can fetch a non-basic land. Since I only care about 5 of them, I don't need a lot. I'm pretty excited to be playing Tempted Discovery because every time I have an opponent play this, the only person that could resist is myself, and that's not enough because that guy just gets 3 lands and then they just win from that position.
This is a mistake.
So I'm kind of excited to be playing it myself and give people a taste of their own medicine. I want them to say yes, for me. Finale Revelation, because this is a bit of a big mana deck, you should be able to sink 10 into this, double your hand size, make it so you have no max hand size for the rest of the game. You are doing Simic things, so you don't want to give up your cards so easily. Priest of Titania, this is a nice thing that kind of combos well with the everything counters. So I just put the everything counters on my non-elves, and then it adds to my elf count, so my priest produces a lot of mana. She's one of the very few things that cares about all the boards, so it is very much possible that someone else could have an elf of their own for me to take advantage of. Hydra Crisis for a super sweet sink. Of the Beanstalk, I have never personally played this, but since I have a lot of stuff that costs 5 or more mana, I get to take advantage of it, and it's nice because it replaces itself with its own cantrip. Hairbaz Druid, this is another one of my abusers of the everything counters. Fierce Empath for me to tutor out my biggins. I get the tutor for a 6-drop and put it in my hand. There is a sub-theme in this list, and that it's a flicker deck, and I like to double my ETB triggers with Panharmonicon, and I also have the 5-drop of Virtue and Knowledge. Frantic Search. There's also a theme of untapping your own lands. Obviously, if I have lands that are producing multiple, you get to get an extreme amount of advantage with these. So like I have Snap, I have Frantic Search, and I have Peregrine Drake. It's a 5-drop. You get to untap 5 lands on ETB. Combo that with Deadeye Navigator, you have infinite mana, and you can just dump your hand out. Elfshark Druid, taps for a green for every elf I control. Another thing to abuse the everything counter. Almo is such a unique commander that I actually had a hard time building her because you kind of can build her just like Morophon, where you could take like lords from all the tribal decks and throw them into here, and they should work with each other because of the everything counter. You turn them into Changeling. Eternal Witness to get something back should it die, and I get to abuse its ETB trigger. If I'm Mutineer, it's an exile rogue spell that I could abuse. Acidic Slime, if I work this into the loop with my Deadeye Navigator, I could blow up everyone's lands, and then they can't play with me at all. It's just a win condition for once I do achieve the infinite mana. Karuga the Microsage, you get to draw a card on ETB for an abusive trigger, and draw cards equal the number of permanents with 3 or more CMC. Pretty dope. Prem Zagana, ETB, a draw cards equal the greatest power on board. Sorokin Goreclaw, this is to help me deal with haste. In green and blue, you don't have access to a lot. It's like I have Swiftfoot Boots and I have Lightning Greaves. But if I could make absurd amount of mana, I can dump an absurd amount of threats. Those, I could only give 2 things haste in that scenario. This fixes all that and gives everything haste. It also sizes them up and puts a counter on them. And it also gives them evasion with trample. And I got a lot of big boys in here. Let me show you. Bane of Balaged. The person that wanted me to build this list wanted me to build an Eldrazi list. Unfortunately, I couldn't play them all because it would have been extremely out of budget. I only played the ones that are impactful and are within a budget. This is like pseudo Annihilator. They get to choose and exile 2 permanents they control instead of sacking them. Agent of Treachery. This is also some I work into my Deadeye Navigator setup. Deal everyone's permanents. Ulamog's Crusher. Attacks every turn. Annihilator 2. Terracodon to blow up everyone's stuff. Breaker Creations. You gain a bunch of life for your colorless stuff, but I don't really care about that. I care about the Annihilator. I want to somewhat honor the requests of Eldrazi's I can, and this is just one of them. Vortex Voice of Hunger, an oldie and a goodie. It doubles your mana production and it stifles the production of your opponents. If they tap their lands down with this in play, they have to wait 2 revolutions before their stuff untaps.
I live in a world where you have everything and I have nothing.
Astral Dragon, I thought this was a unique pet pick. I didn't see this in the EDH rec, which I thought was a shame because on ETB, another thing I get to abuse, I get to create 2 tokens that are copies of target non-creature permanent, except they become 3/3 dragons with flying. And I am going to use that to copy by Cloud Posts my Urza lands. So now I get Urza lands on a body. It seems fun. Artisan Kozilek, it's return a creature back from my graveyard to hand and has Annihilator 2. Apex Altasaur to clean up the board. Jinja Taxes to make people empty-handed and draw a ton of cards. I've always called it Omniscience, but I'm pretty sure I've been corrected. You could listen to that.
Omniscience.
It's right originally. And Pathrazer Ulamog, which Annihilator 3 has to be blocked by 3 or more creatures. You saw the list. I hope you liked it. I'm going to go in and play the game now.